All right, hey, one other thing, Shane. Last thing I got on the show. We'll make this a quick one, a little Monday pod here for everybody. But we do got another football question, Shane, and let's credit a fan here. Reached out to the show, hit us up on Twitter. I'm going to throw it up here on the YouTube page. But he goes by TTW, and he's at AbsurdlyT. Love the podcast, and it got me thinking, which teams beat their win total from last year? Would love to hear your thoughts on who takes a step forward based purely on wins. For reference, with all the seniors that left Arkansas, do the Razorbacks take a step back in the wins column? So any thoughts on this one, Shay? The teams that you think are going to be taking a step back just purely based on wins and losses. And I don't know that there's really a wrong answer, because here in the SEC, goodness, I mean, you could be one of the top 25 teams in the country, and you're looking at 7-5, 6-6, 8-4, because it's just such an incredibly difficult league. You know what?
Yeah.
Maybe a slightly confusing on that question, but we thought it'd be easier just to consider the regular season, because it'd be very easy to sit here and look at Georgia and say, well, hell, they won 14 games last year.
Yeah.
But that includes SEC championship. That includes 2 playoff games. So just regular season is what Shane and I are going to be discussing here. And again, he's not necessarily saying who's going to be better, but it's not going to show up. He wants to know who's going to take a step forward in the win column next season. And again, we're just doing regular season from last year because it's a little bit more fair to all 14. But we'll start with Alabama, Shane. They went 11-1. Only loss in the regular season, of course, was Texas A&M. Thoughts on that one? You more likely to win 12 or win 10, I guess, is basically what he's asking.
It's a tough question, but I think Alabama's best team is coming back this year, man. I think they showed a little glimpse of it last year. They got a little streaky. Some games I think they weren't able to close out quite like Saban would want. That comes with with seniority on that team. It's a young ball club, so I like Alabama to take a step forward, if you will. I think Alabama. This is Alabama's season to lose.
Yeah, I'm not really buying the talk, Shane. That because hell, I'm getting asked on these radio shows that I do, is this going to be the best Alabama team ever and all that? I'm not ready to go that far. But that being said, I'm not picking anyone other than Alabama at this point in time. So right. I think you nailed that one. I think Alabama's looking like the best team in the SEC right now. And hell, they were already looking like it, and then they added a couple key transfers to help the roster. So, yeah, I'm more likely I think Alabama takes a slight step forward. Now, here's an interesting one, Shane. Ole Miss. 10 wins last season, 10-2 in the regular season, all-time wins for regular season. But considering, man, they lost both coordinators, lost their starting quarterback, lost so many key pieces. Not saying Ole Miss can't top that, but that's one I think it's fair to say they'll take a step back from the win column, considering they won 10 last year.
I think they will, and you have to. I mean, obviously, when you're losing a stud quarterback that was the heart and soul of that offense, naturally you think there'd be a little bit of drop-off. The only saving grace I think Ole Miss has for them is their schedule. They got a pretty favorable schedule, in my opinion. Yep. They pull Vanderbilt and Kentucky from the East. So, I mean, there's a real chance that I wouldn't be surprised going into that LSU game if they're not undefeated. So I don't know, maybe not a huge step back, because it does get a little muddy after that LSU game. I mean, it ramps up real quick with Texas A&M, Alabama, Arkansas. So I'm going to go small step back, not huge, but that's more to do with the schedule than actual body of proof on the field.
Now, how about Arkansas, Shane? They went 8-4 in the regular season. Of course, they won their bowl game, so don't get confused here. We're not discrediting that, but we're just talking regular season. 8-4, that's tough for Arkansas, because that's one with an incredibly difficult schedule. But this could be the best team ever under Sam Pittman. So,
right,
I'd say more likely to win more than less for Arkansas. What about you?
Yeah, I'm leaning a little bit more too. I think Cincinnati, everybody's going to see that first game. I mean, that's a pivotal game, and I think it sets the tone for what the Razorbacks want to do. And I like the over. Obviously, you're going to have to worry about A&M and Alabama coming up, but I like the other teams. I mean, just the way the schedule lays out, there's a real shot Arkansas can get streaky here and make a run. So. Yeah, give me the over. That's the one I would choose.
Now, how about Mississippi State? Shane 7-5 in the regular season. Really caught fire there towards the middle of the year. That's a tricky one because, again, they got a couple non-conference games, could go either way. But, man, we just saw glimpses last season of, it really seemed like the offense. I know the bowl game was a dud and the Egg Bowl a little bit of a dud, but it's kind of difficult to just look past those games, but Mississippi State was on damn fire there in October, November. And if we get that offense showing up, I think the Pirate can get them to 8. How about you?
Right.
Or more. Or more.
I think or more. I think that's the thing about Mississippi State. Like you said, toward the end, not enough people were talking about them and what they're bringing back and, the Pirate system. I mean, it's in place, brother. I mean, it's in full swing. And as long as they don't trip out of the gate, and especially against Memphis, golly, man, this is going to be I can't wait to see who's umpiring this game. But after that, brother, I think they got a real shot to make some serious noise. And by the time they hit LSU there, they should be up and running. It's not you can't say it's an easy run when you got the West staring down at you, but I think looking at the win total from last year, I like the over just because, again, some of those non-conference opponents, I just have a feeling that they're just gonna wax them, all three of them.
Now Texas A&M, this may be the easiest one on the board, Shane, because they went a disappointing 8-4.
Yeah.
If they go under that, I mean, hell, Jimbo just brought in the number 1 class, but they're going to be saying, what the hell are we doing here, Jimbo? If they go, if they win 7 or less, don't you think? So we got to go over for the Aggies.
Oh my God, absolutely. And you know what I love about the Aggie schedule is it's you want to talk about tuning up, brother. I mean, when you start out with Sam Houston High School and the Appalachian Community College, and then you go down to always struggling Miami, I mean, by the time you start facing serious opponents, if you ain't got your shit figured out by then, you don't deserve to be considered one of the best coaches in the SEC, in my opinion. There's no reason to stumble. There's no reason to mess up. And I think what else is important, Mike, here, I think Jimbo had a rude awakening last year with quarterback preparation. I think he put all his eggs in one basket and it bit him. And I don't think we have that. I think we're going to see a little bit more splitting of reps, especially here in the offseason. He needs to know what's behind these ones. You know what I'm saying? And the good thing is, boy, they got some serious talent down there. So give me over all day long with Texas A&M.
Now, how about Auburn, Shane? Is kind of a mixed bag here. They've got a hell of an easy schedule, it looks like, to start the season. Only won 6 games in the regular season last year. Hell, almost beat Alabama, but so much drama in the offseason, new quarterbacks, new coordinators. Man, I don't know which way to go on this. What was their win total? 6-6.
Quick rundown schedule. We got Mercer, San Jose State, Penn State, Missouri, LSU, Georgia, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Western Kentucky, and Alabama. Brother, I don't know, man. With so much changing.
Here's the wild card with that, Shane. I mean, you look at that, particularly the early part of the schedule, and you say, well, hell, they should beat a lot of these teams. What happens? I mean, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but what if they stumble and they lose to one of those?
That's what I'm.
Man, then the wheels are seriously going to come off because it's set up to where they could be 5-1, 6-0 coming out the gate. But if they're 3-3 or 4-2, you're like, oh my, what are we doing here,
Mike? I mean, when I'm looking at Penn State and say what you want, Missouri, LSU, Georgia, Ole Miss, back to back to back. I mean, there's a real chance that either Brian's getting a raise or he's getting fired. You know, right. There's so much controversy coming into this season anyway, and I'm just not sold that they're going to be better than 6 because we don't even know their identity, man. I mean, we got new coordinators and shit. I mean, we don't know if Brian. It's almost like Gus Malzahn's back down there again, and we're going through the same. It's deja vu. So for the time being, to be safe, I'm going to go a step back. So yeah, I'm not feeling super confident with Auburn right now.
Now, how about LSU, Shane? Again, also won 6 last season, and you would think they got the talent. Now they got a coach that knows what the hell he's doing. So maybe an easy over, but they open the season Florida State in New Orleans, so they should have the home field advantage, even though it's not Tiger Stadium. If you win, I've said this before. If they win that game, I think they're going over. It's kind of that simple. But Florida State coach, he's been there 4 years now. I think Mike Norvell. Hell, he's not that great of a coach, but you'd think he'd have an advantage with just the players knowing his system and having his depth where he wants it. So, that may be a little bit closer to a toss-up game than not, but it really comes down to that one for me, whether LSU goes over or not.
Well, every year when we have coach changing, there's always 1 or 2 that pop, and we think that they're, 2 or 3 years ahead of the other guys. And I just think with what LSU has down there and always has had down there, and Chip Kelly, this isn't his first rodeo. I think they're a team that's going to pop. I think they're a team that, you're talking a seasoned vet. This isn't a new coach. This isn't his first time head coaching. This is a guy that knows how to run a top-tier program. I give him a hard time, and I'm going to continue to give him a hard time until he starts putting victories on the scoreboard. But I think LSU pops, and I like the over big time on this one. I think LSU's a sleeper, brother.
I know you love them Tigers. So how about
it's just something about them, man. Now I hope they, when October 8th when they play my Vols, I hope they stumble a little bit. But I think coming out of the gate, if they can get past Mississippi State, I think they got a clean slate, brother. Until late in the season, Chip will have this thing running by then, I would imagine.
Now, how about Georgia in the East, Shane? This one I think is a little bit easier because they went undefeated. We're talking regular season again. 12-0, you can't do any better than that. So it's almost an easy. You got to go under, I think, and that's not to say we're going to go 8-4 in Athens this year, but I think you're much more likely to go 11-1 than you are 12-0, if that makes sense. With all the, the hell they got a stacked roster still. I understand that, but you're going to be replacing so much elite talent. You got to think there's going to be one slip up.
You would think, brother, but I'm going to sidestep this one. I don't think Georgia drops any. I don't think they move up because they can't. They can't win a 13th game, but I think Georgia just steamrolls every single opponent they play until they get to the SEC championship. I mean, you're talking about now not playing. In fact, I'm going to say take a step forward because they don't have Alabama on the schedule. Their toughest opponent, you can't count Oregon. They're a joke, and then we'll stop talking about them after week 1. But you got
at Kentucky.
Kentucky. I mean, that's it, brother. I mean, short of Sanford's tripping them up, I just don't see. I don't see the Georgia Bull. In fact, give me the over, man. Yeah, I am dead set that these guys are going to be just as. I mean, because it's not like. Yeah, they put a lot of people in the NFL. I get that. But guess what? They're replacing them with other people that are going to be in the NFL. So the Georgia is the Alabama of the East, and they just reload, brother.
All right, how about this one, Shane? Kentucky. I think this is going to be the best team of the Mark Stoops era, but we're also saying, not a lot of margin for error if we're going to top 9 wins regular season. They won the bowl game, 10 overall, but can they get to that double-digit mark in the regular season? That's going to be tough. But, I think they've got the potential certainly to do it, particularly, if there's no drop-off here switching offensive coordinators.
So they had 8 last year?
No, 9 in the regular season.
Oh, so we got to get 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I like Kentucky to get 10 is that Florida matchup. Just so early in the season, I think later in the season we may have ourselves a ball game. I think this is going to be the best Kentucky as far as pros and cons when Kentucky and Florida match up. I think it's just perfect. So I like it. I like the momentum of their schedule. I mean, you're talking. Look here: Miami of Ohio, Florida, Youngstown State, Northern Illinois, Ole Miss going to be a tough one there. South Carolina, Mississippi State, a bye week before Tennessee, and then coming out of the back of that, you got Mizzou, Vandy, Georgia, Louisville. What a freaking schedule!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go over, man. I think this is Kentucky's year to really make some serious noise, and I know I've always kind of played them up in the offseason, but shit, Mike, if not now, then when? We've said that about Georgia forever. Well, that's been replaced now, I think, with Kentucky Wildcats. I mean, if not now, then when? If you're going to seriously compete for the East, this has to be the year, brother. A down Florida, a rebuilding Tennessee. Georgia replacing. I mean, that's going to be your biggest game, and November 19th. If you ain't got your shit together, then you don't deserve an SEC championship. So, yeah, I like the over with Kentucky here.
Now, easiest pick on the board for you, Shane. Tennessee 7 wins regular
Crown
season.
them, baby.
We got to go over on the Vols, don't you think?
Absolutely. Again, down Florida. I think this is a good year. I mean, it sucks when you got LSU, Bama back to back, but this ain't your Papaw's LSU. So hopefully before Chip figures things out, Tennessee gets a good shot. But this is a volunteer program that had a lot of momentum toward the tail end of last season. Got a quarterback coming back, and we're paying for the next quarterback. So I think Tennessee's a fun place to be right now, and I'd like the over.
Yeah, and the two games you never can win at Florida and Alabama, both at home. And this is a hungry fan base. We're seeing what the basketball, baseball, all these programs are doing. I mean, these fans are willing this damn program to win. So maybe they can do it this fall, and maybe you break a streak or two. And if you do that, you'll smash this over under.
Absolutely. Even Kentucky, I just talked them up. Being a tough opponent, but the good thing is you do have them at home. So, the schedule is very favorable with those home and away matchups.
Now, how about Missouri? 6 wins last season in the regular season. Mm-hmm. It's a tough one, Shane, because, we got the head coach out here basically recruiting quarterbacks during his press conferences. That doesn't bode well for an offense that lost Tyler Beatty to the NFL. Now our defensive coordinator jumped back to the NFL. I don't know. I mean, Missouri's a team, Shane. You hype them up, they disappoint. You hype them down, they they exceed expectations. So I would not be stunned if Missouri goes over, but I'm picking them under for now.
What was the win total one more time?
6-6 last year.
6. I'm gonna. 4. I'm looking. I'm just playing in my head here. I mean, it'd be close, brother. I don't know. I think parts of me last year, and everybody, hell, we were all super frustrated with Mizzou's defense. I've lost so much money betting on Missouri last year. I'm still a little sour about it, but brother, I think Mizzou bounces back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I really do. I'm looking at this schedule: MTSU, Kansas State, Albion Christian. I mean, I don't even have to learn how to spell that one because they don't matter. We're 3 wins in, and I think that's what Mizzou needs. They need to know that they belong. They need to know how to win and create that kind of culture there. And going into Auburn, I mean, like I said, there's a real shot. If they go 4-0, there's a chance Brian loses his job after this game. That's how I feel about it. And there's nothing more than our lightsaber boy would like to do than get another SEC coach fired. So I think if they get that quarterback situation figured out and they got 3 weeks to practice with it, I think they're going to be all right. So I'm not very confident, but I like the over.
Mm-hmm. How about South Carolina? Shade 6 last year. Of course, they did win the bowl games, but we're not counting those. But over 6, you got to feel great about the Gamecocks. The schedule's tough, but with the additions, the offseason, I mean, hell, this fan base, Shane, look at my mentions here. They're basically locking it up that South Carolina is going to be no worse than number 2 in the East. So we got to go over on this one.
Now, there isn't a safer bet on this board than over on South Carolina. The only thing I don't like is who's their offensive coordinator?
Marcus Satterfield. There
was he the quarter? Was he the one last year?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, let me ask you a follow-up question to that. Who's the quarterback in South Carolina?
it's going to be Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, he is also the offensive coordinator. They're going to let him draw in the sand, brother. And that's why I like the over. I think we're going to see a totally different South Carolina. I think they came in here with a dream. They're focused, and it's his ball. What does he want to do? And they're going to build around him, and that's why I'm excited about the South Carolina offense. Not to mention the defense. Sneaky defense last year, brother. I mean, there were some games, if not for that defense, they would not have stayed in them. So I think putting these pieces together, safest bet, South Carolina, give me the over.
Now, this one could be a little tricky, Shane. Florida Gators, 6 wins last season. And, the anticipation, everybody's loving Billy Napier. We're loving what he's doing, killing it in the recruiting trail, killing it building a staff. He's hired about 100,000 people down there. The future is bright in Gainesville. But sometimes I caution, when this is a complete tear down and a complete, I don't want to say rebuild, because they still got talent down there and they're doing well in the transfer portal. But, it would not stun me, Shane, if Florida really comes out the gate slow and people are saying, what in the hell, Billy Napier, is this guy in over his head? And then by, October and November, maybe they pull a couple upsets. I think that's probably the story we're going to get, where it starts slow, gets stronger, and year 2, year 3 is when they'll really take off. So I'm kind of stuck on this one. The Gators, I mean, you got to think you'd go over, but I don't think it's a guarantee. I think what you try to do if you're at the Gators is just get to the postseason, given how difficult their schedule is right out the gate.
Yeah. And that's the downside. But by the time they are hitting on all cylinders, they're late in the season, and they're facing some serious opponents. You know what I'm saying? When you see the Florida Gators schedule, you're talking LSU, Georgia, A&M. These are late games. Short of South Carolina and Vandy, and I think you're going to have that South Carolina game. It's not a gimme anymore. You're really going to have to work for it. I don't like the schedule. I like the future. Okay, and as a Florida fan, I'm excited about the future of the Gators, but you got to realize they are gutting a system. They are tearing it from the ground to the ground. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're just starting all the way from scratch, and there's some bumps along the way when you do that, and a lot of that's going to be early in the season. But I think when this team does catch fire, they're going to be good, and they're going to be relevant. And they're going to be competing for the East Championship once again. I just don't think it's going to be next year, brother. I think they got at least another year before they're doing that. But you can't sleep on talent, and the Gators still got talent down there. So as far as the win total, what was it last year? 5?
6.
6? Okay. Yeah, if it were 5, I'd been more confident. 6, I think we're going to sidestep this one again. I'm going to play Switzerland and go neutral here, brother. I think that's exactly where they're going to land. They're going to catch a game that you didn't expect, and I think they're going to drop one that you didn't think would happen.
Mm-hmm. And then last team, Shane, we got to go over on this one. Vanderbilt, 2-10 in the rebuild year under Clark Lee. Slow process there, but 3, 4, 5 wins. That's what you want to see if you're a Commodore. Next season, we got to do better than 2, don't we?
Yeah. Now, let me ask you. I'm looking at their schedule. Oh, okay, Hawaii. That's where it is. Oh, yeah. Give me the over on Vandy. I think, you want to talk about starting from the scratch. That's exactly what Vanderbilt's doing, and you saw it later in the year, man. These guys, they're scrappy. They play tough. And that's all with coaching, and that's development, and another off season of development. You're going to be looking at a Vanderbilt team that's got more competitive depth, so they're going to be able to last longer than they were here last couple of seasons. So, yeah, give me the over on Vandy. I think they sneak up and they catch a couple of SEC teams this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, buddy, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the show. I know you got a pie just came out the oven, so – you were no blueberry cream pie from McDonald's for Cousin Shane on this episode. He's got his own pie coming out the oven. What you cooking over there? What kind of pie?
Full disclosure, Mike. All right, so I was doing good, right? I was eating healthy. I was getting ready, and then all of a sudden we got hit with a winter storm, And I went back to hibernation and survival. So what do? We go to the store and get a blueberry pie and a little ice cream, and while I waited, and I'm not proud of this, man. And if you're fighting them demons like Cousin Shane, maybe you're doing better than I am, but they got these little Easter candies out too, brother. And I don't know what these Reese Easter eggs. Oh my God, those should be illegal. I shouldn't be thinking about them. You know what I'm saying? Like I think about them while I'm at work and stuff. I'm like, if I'm good today, I get a Reese egg. You know what I'm saying? It's like, golly, man, they shouldn't be that good. So maybe I should swap them out with Peeps or something, the worst Easter candy. Maybe if they're sitting in my cabinet, I won't be tempted. But needless to say, my wife, she got the craving for a blueberry pie, and that has been done for about 10 minutes. I got 2 text messages, and she's already eaten her slice. So, yeah, I got to get off here. We got to celebrate an SEC championship, Mike.
Well, yeah, so I'll get you off the line here, Shane. Just want to make an announcement. I got an Arkansas guest coming on the line, so we're going to talk some Arkansas spring football, what the Hogs are doing in the upcoming NCAA tournament. That'll be on the next episode. I'm going to try to reach out to some other people this week. Should be a loaded week of shows before this NCAA tournament gets rolling. But I do appreciate you, Shane. I don't want to hold you up a second longer with this pie on the line. So
hey, let me ask you, what's your favorite Easter candy?
Oh, Easter candy. I mean, you kind of hit on it, man. The Reese's eggs are elite.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I loved the Cadbury eggs. You couldn't go wrong with that.
I'm glad you said that. One of my favorite was the Cadbury egg. It was always wrapped a little shady.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Just sitting out there, and half of it's open. People have been touching it, and you're just like...
About what? Yeah. I'd say 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 was just so sticky you couldn't even touch the thing.
Yeah, it's just leaking. But I always thought of it like rich kid candy, It's like one of those things that was a delicacy at my house, It's like, oh, my God, we've got to share that with my brother,
and one I never really cared for, Shane, that, the bunnies. I mean, sometimes
that's Peeps. Those are
not the Peeps, but you'd get
the hollow bunny.
You get a chocolate bunny, and either it's hollow and you bite into it, and half of it falls into your lap, or you get the ones that are rock solid, and it's just you're sitting there gnawing on it like a dog on a bone. So I'm not picky, but I would prefer not to eat a chocolate bunny if I had my pick. I'm going with the Reese's. I'm going with the Cadbury egg, and I'm good with that.
I like the rabbit. I always felt like I was, it's like, oh, guess what? Who can't hear now? The rabbit. Bite his ears off, The one I can't, I'm not a huge fan, and then we'll get off here. Those, they do them like eggs. They look like little Easter eggs, painted eggs, but they're really like those Whompers or whatever. Malt balls, or you ever had those?
Oh yeah,
they call them something. Whoppers, I think, is what they call them. And I don't care how pretty they paint those things. Just not a huge fan. So
they're like a knockoff M&M. They're a little bit larger.
Yeah, larger, hollowed. Well, they got like a dry texture on the inside. It's like they baked the chocolate too long or something like that. It's just. Those malt balls, I can't remember what they're called, but yeah, those are one of the worst ones. Not as bad as Peeps, the marshmallow dudes, but they're close, man. I've gone in because some of them are like real chocolate. Like you'll eat an egg and it's like, oh, okay, this is real milk chocolate. But then some you eat one and it tastes like those, and you're just like, oh God, these are horrible. Your mouth's all dry, and you ain't got nothing to drink. So. But anyway, I could talk all day about Easter candy, Mike. You can tell I'm getting hungry. I can smell that blueberry pie from in here, brother. So
that's what I was thinking. Yeah. We're getting the ramblings of a man with pie and sweets on his mind. So
that's right.
Let's get him off so he can get that pie. But I appreciate you, brother, as always, hopping on the line and talking some SEC football. I appreciate each and every one of you, and we will catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols, baby.